Hey all, welcome to the very last lesson in the blending mode class at Hummy's World. This is lesson 40 and I'm so excited to be here with you at the very end. I have learned a lot in the class in prepping to share these with you, and I hope you have learned a lot along the way too. I thought you would like to see a little bit of how I made these textures. Now, my husband and I did sit down at the kitchen table and we glued things down on a piece of paper. We had a huge thing of paints that I used to gather over the years from projects that I used to do around the house, and so I didn't even buy any paints. We had brushes, we found little tools around the house that we might drag through it. We used cups and combs and just all sorts of things, anything we could think of to get creative. We crumpled up the textures, we tore the textures, we used a lot of glue, believe it or not. We put the glue right on it and it changed the consistency, and we would scrape it with different things. We looked around the house. We found tea and pepper worked well. We got some spray bottles and we watered down some black and some white paint, and we just sprayed them. We did a lot of spraying. But this is the last texture that I have not given out, and I'm going to give this to you here in its original format. And your assignment for this lesson is to take my texture straight from the scan, which is what this is. And some of them had some wonky colors, really wonky colors, but this one happened to not have so many wonky colors. Your assignment, back to that, is to take this and use some of these techniques I'm going to show you in the video to convert this to a texture to use as we've used in a lot of the other lessons. None of the textures I gave you in the lessons are the original texture except for this one. None of them. I took all of them in to Photoshop and I played with them and I made something new with them. And so if you want to then take what you've converted it to after you share that with us, then you can maybe use it in an image and show us a result of using this with something. I actually like this one, and I wish I would have used it in an image. Maybe I will yet, because it's got the white edge. You know me and the edges, so I can imagine this working well, obviously, with the edges that I've put in the other lessons. These are actually tea leaves all on here. They look like green tea leaves, actually. And then textures and paints and whatnot. I think this texture out here, I actually just it's paint with glue, I think, and I just put it out there and I just smeared it around with my fingers. That's my fingers that did all of that on there. The work on the outer edge is, of course, with a brush. So I'm going to give you this, and let me show you some of my regular routines that I did in converting these textures. The first thing that I did was always to convert it to black and white. And I'm in Photoshop Elements CC, but there are lots of ways that you can convert it to black and white. I have a tutorial on how to convert to black and white in course 2. It's under the tinting. If I forget to link you up with it, please let me know. I'll put that on the class guide. And so the even in Photoshop Elements, there's lots of different ways to convert to black and white. One of the most simple ways is to open up and go to the Hue and Saturation, and then just take the saturation all the way down. Using adjustment layers really works well. Another way would be to use the new adjustment layer for, I just saw it and now I don't remember. Oh, gradient map. And then you go and just choose the black to white gradient, and you can even play with these sliders and convert it to black and white that way. If you're in the full version, there's lots of ways to convert it to black and white. If you're in the full version of Photoshop, as I am, they actually do have a black to white. And this was what I used in my endeavor, and I just scrolled down through here. Now I want you to look at the texture as I scroll through these and see how just a little bit of a difference in black and white can make a difference, a huge difference in your texture. And these differences in the texture are going to make huge differences in how they blend. So you have to think about all those things we learned about blending modes, which ones showed no change for black, which one showed no change for white, which one showed no change for gray, because you're going to see here, if you look at this image right now as it is, there's all three of those in here. The outside edges and then some of the texture in here are white, and we have our grayscale, and then the T now is turning really black. But let me scroll through and you can see this one here, the green filter, really made the tea leaves gentle and not so dark, and I actually really like that. This one, high contrast blue, look at those tea leaves. Now that's really going to make another difference on how it looks in your final blending. Here they're softer, and each one of these is just slightly different. And so you pick one that you like, and this one is maximum white or infrared. I kind of like the way infrared looks. Or the green filter. I like that it's very subtle with the speckles. So let's just try that. And I can just save it like this, and that can be my texture. And this might be what I hand out to you. But then I would keep playing. Next, I'm going to try that gradient map. I love the gradient map. And you can compound these, or you can, by leaving the black and white, or you can, take off and get combinations. But let's go back to that gradient map, and you see it's got this one, and I'm going to open it up, and they have some nice defaults, like this sepia tone in here is really nice, but it's a little bit too dark, and so I might use that to make a texture, but I would let's see. I would play with it. Ooh, see, I like that. But let's just go through these and see. Oh, ooh, there we go, the soft light. Now see, I really like how that works with this one. You'll remember we did a lesson with the gradient map, so you can really, though, work with the gradient map in making anything you want. You'll remember that whatever is over here is affecting the darks. So actually, let's go back and kind of peek at it. Turn it off. Turn it on. You see that the dark area here, when I turn it on, is being changed to light. Okay, and then the light area around the edges is being changed to dark. So whatever's on this side affects the dark areas, whatever's on this side affects the light areas, and right now they put white here, so it's changing the dark areas to a light color. Let's go ahead and choose a pretty, well, I always go for those sepia tone colors. Let's see. I'm not seeing what change this is affecting it as of yet. Let's oh, it would help if I turn the layer on. Somehow it got, the visibility got turned off. So there we go. Let's open that back up. I really like trying to go for that sepia tone. It's kind of in here in the brown areas, and I want to make my darker colors really dark maybe, or I might want to make them really light, and you just keep clicking around and you're going to get something different every time. I like these kind of muted colors. Let's go, see, let's just make it a little bit lighter there. And then remember, you can add some in here. So that is not working. But here we go. That's working. And I really like my edges to be pretty white. And I want to reinforce that because you know me, I like my white edges. So I'm making it really white over here. Bringing these little things here are your kind of what, like where they where the gradient changes over. That's the best I can explain it right now without having a thought of words. See, if I come over here, the gradient changes over here. Oh, I just actually put I don't want that there. I want to grab this little triangle and see how if I put it here, it fades, it changes so there's only a little white. If I bring it over here, there's more white before it changes over to what this stop is. So, and I can move this stop over. Now that's bringing in too much white out in the middle for my taste because I'm trying to make it subtle and to just have the outside area. That's my goal with this. Your goal may be a little bit different than this. And I guess I had a good one. I like it right there. So actually, I really like this one. So I could take off this black and white, and it doesn't seem to make any difference at all because this actually doesn't have a blending mode on it. If I put a blending mode on it, there you go. You have yet even another one because it's blending down into this black and white and then down into the scan. Ooh. Isn't it yummy? Look at all the different things we can do. Ugh. Now that's really dark and kind of cool. I really like that one too. But I actually really like this because I think this is subtle. I like the way I took those really rich dark textures and then kind of made it subtle because if you get it too, see, you can't even see the tea leaves now. The tea leaves are here. And now they're just making these little spots, kind of like little bumps. So I love textures that are a little bit more subtle because they work better. So I may even just share this one with you also in the download because I said there would be 40 textures. So, and we didn't have one with the very first lesson, so you're getting 2 with the ending lesson from me. So let's continue on and see what else we can do. Another thing that we can do is to use the levels and really play with the levels. And if you see, if I drag this slider, whoops, that's too far. over, it lightens it up. This one too. I have other lessons on levels. I don't want to get into explaining it all, but if you just move the sliders around, you're going to get totally different textures. And you see I have the gradient map still showing through. I could take that off and go back to the levels and move things around. If I wanted something really dark for like the magic black, I could do it. This might be really good with the magic black, and the white would show through around the edges. So there you go. That would be like a totally new texture. So you know, you've gone from this to this. Total, but still really cool. And so this is kind of the three things that I use a lot to change my textures around. And you can do other things, such as, well, you know, this one, like I said, we made really dark. Actually, I really like it dark. I want to save that in case I want to go back to that. Let's create a new levels. If you are working with, let's say, the darken category and you need a lighter texture, you can move these two sliders here until you get something much lighter. And so there we have it, before and after. I tend to leave this black and white on, but you could take it off, because when I took it off, look, your little specks came through, and that's actually kind of cool for a lighter texture. But I don't know, I tend to leave the black and white on and then compound to it. There are other things that you can do. You can use, after you convert it to black and white, you can use a hue and saturation. And actually this works best if you pick a color, a nice sepia tone color, and then open up the hue and saturation and hit colorize, and then you got a whole new thing. So if you're working with something and you're maybe using the color or the hue or one of the component ones that really affect the color, or even some of the other ones that affect color, and you're going after a certain color in your image that you're making, you can use the hue and saturation. Now I can lighten it, and I think lightening it's nice. I can make it more saturated, less saturated, and I can even play around and change the hue here. So I can get any number of things just by playing with the hue and the saturation. You can get a zillion other different combinations. And what if I wanted to leave it like this, but then I wanted this, well, that's the dark. Where's the dark one? This one, the dark levels. So there's even another combination where I changed that dark levels so it had a color to it. Then there are other things. I mean, you can just play and play and play with these things, and it can be addictive. You can just sit here forever. You can add patterns to it if you want, but I've also added before a gradient. Actually, I don't know if I gave one out or not. I did make a real cool one with a gradient in it. So let's see, blue, and then let's add a white one over here and a blue one over here. I'm just doing something random, and then I'm going to go ahead and change it to screen, and lower the opacity, and just like that you have another texture. There's a different one even using the multiply blending mode. Yuck, not that one. Um, ooh, that's kind of wild. And so is that one. But ooh, I like that one. Color dodge. That would be a really kind of cool texture to work with, maybe ocean pictures, especially if you've got your gradient in certain areas to work with your photo. So you can do the gradient fill, and make a texture. Uh, you can use any of these things. Oh, the photo filter. I did use this a few times. It is great, especially for this sepia tone down here, and you change the density to work. And you can even hit color. You can preserve the luminosity or not. So if you're wanting to tone down the whites, take off that luminosity. So, here's blues, yellows. The yellow's pretty nice with the luminosity off. And then I could even do that with a combination of changing the levels, or the gradient map, taking off the black and white. So you see how you can play with these. Then there's one other thing that you can do. Let's say I like this one here. I can hit Shift Control Alt E, and it puts that all on a new layer. Let's make these invisible. So this one is now all on a new layer. Anything that was visible is on a new layer. And I can go up here, and I have done this with a few of the textures. Go to Noise and Dust and Scratches. And look what it does. It really makes it soft, kind of like a sandpaper. I'm going to raise the threshold. So if you're wanting to, if it's just too intense, if all those textures are just too intense for you, you can, let's back that off a little bit. You can run various filters on your textures to come up with whole new textures. Now, we actually did a whole lesson on this, but I didn't show you the dust and scratches one. I loved using the dust and scratches. Look how yummy that is now. I mean, that just would make a great texture. Yeah, I like the way that one is. It might be a little too much, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and undo and do the dust, and I think it might be a little too much. We want to preserve some of that texture. And do it again. Are you feeling artsy? Are you feeling like you got an artistic high going on? Are you feeling like you want to just keep playing with this? Because I could keep going on and on. Look at how yummy that is. Look at that. That's just going to be blending so well. And, it's amazing what this sort of thing can do. I mean, you can just do all sorts of things with it. You could sharpen things, and you could do a Gaussian blur, but that doesn't look very good. You could clone things. You can, I don't know. I'm not going to keep going on and on. I think you've got a great idea of what I do to take things from the original scan into the textures that you downloaded. And so here's your lesson. Take my texture here and get out there and play with it. And you don't have to share the full version in a zip file with everybody, but just share your results like you have in all the other lessons. And if you want to actually use the texture you make, that would be great too. I've had a great fun with you in this class. I really have. This has been such a joy creating this class, and it's been so much fun playing and making the images, as well as spending time doing these tutorials for you. So thank you for coming to the class um, and doing all 40 of these videos and lessons with me. And I hope you come maybe and join one of the other classes at Hummy's World to learn even more about various things, photography and digital scrapbooking and tips and techniques, and I just have fun. So once again, thank you very much. It's not as fun without you. Uh, it's more fun watching you all and what you do with the lessons and learning from you all. Bye now.